go here. Thank you. Okay, so chapter 1. Everybody read the chapter, right? Everybody's ready to go with all this stuff. I mean, it covers like a very, very broad selection. Now, if I can figure out the remote, it will be good. Anybody know how the remote is supposed to work? Does the remote even work?
It did last semester.
Page.
Thank you, actually.
Usually we just hit the space bar. It's archaic.
Space bar or arrow?
Either one.
Learning objective.
If you're pointing at the actual screen, does it work?
Well, I was pointing it up there.
But if you point at it, sometimes it will point at the screen.
No.
No?
The batteries what works really well?
Well, yeah, it turned it on.
Did you try turning it off and back on?
Might take it a while to turn it off.
You don't want to do that.
I don't want to power it off.
Don't do that.
See, that works. See, I didn't use this last week. We're getting it all recorded.
Would you like me to hit the space bar for you?
No, it's okay, because we went to see. Wait, what did you just do? You just moved.
You're adjusting the position with the arrow keys.
Am I? Well, fine. Okay, that doesn't work. So we're just going to set that there, and I'm going to stand here, maybe sit, and read.
Okay.
Can I just read it off to you?
Sure.
Really? I can? Awesome. So these are our learning objectives. We're going to cover, as I said, a wide, broad selection of things concerning security. You'll see why I say a broad selection when we get to the waterfall. Define information security. Recount the history of computer security. That's the enigma part that I like. Define the key terms. List the phrases of the system security development lifecycle, which is the part I don't like, which Devlon here can tell us all about, and describe the information security roles. Information security is a well-informed sense of assurance that information risks and controls are in balance. Is it possible to have your system completely 100% secure?
Yeah, air gap it.
Okay, so yeah, if we unplug it and nobody's allowed to access it, then it would be secure, but then it would be of no use to anybody, would it? Okay, so the history of information security. Computer security began immediately after the first mainframes were developed. They were developing code-breaking computations during World War II, and they created the first modern computer. So if you watch Imitation Game, at the end of the show, when they show the big, huge contraption that takes up like the entire room, that's the first computer. And my husband actually had to point it out to me. He's like, you know that's the first computer, don't you? It's like, that's not a computer. He's like, yeah, that's technically it's a computer. Because what it was is it ran through all of the possible scenarios, basically, to come up with the password that broke the Enigma machine, because they had to break it every single day. And if you watch the machine, you'll find out how they finally broke it, because they had one small key piece of information from the broadcast each day that helped break it, because the Germans changed it every day. Here's a little bit of a history on how everything came about. I think they leave off a lot. They say it's key dates. They don't even list ARPANET on there, so that just kind of confuses me. That is the Enigma machine that Alan Turing helped to break. Says that the earlier versions were broken in the 1930s. That wasn't mentioned in the movie, but they changed it to where it was a little more sophisticated, harder to break, and it took them forever to finally break it. And the only reason they did was because of his machine. Because one person trying to do all the computations by hand, there's no way that even a lot of them could do it.
Didn't they break that by, like, the flaw was that it couldn't go to the same letter or it was? So, like, an L would never be an L, so you know by process of elimination.
No, what it was is in the intro, every morning they gave, I think, the weather.
Yes.
and they were able to break it by using that information.
Because they said Heil Hitler at the end of every weather report. So using that as a standard key phrase,
You could determine what they changed it to. And then by inputting that into the computer, it would come up with the code fairly quickly to where they could intercept all of the messages and read them. It was kind of cool. ARPANET, as Kathleen had mentioned, began to examine the feasibility of redundant network communications, and Larry Roberts developed the ARPANET from its inception, and they did that so that who could communicate? Anybody know?
CERN scientists.
It was like 4 different colleges so that they could network together and communicate their information. And there's describing the objective of the plan. 70s and 80s, our ARPANET grew. No safety procedures were put in ARPANET because, they didn't expect people to try to break into it. I mean, it was new. You don't expect things like that whenever you first make it. Non-existent user identification and authorization to the system. Anybody could log in, basically. 70s and 80s, information security began with RAND report. Scope of computer security grew from physical security to include securing the data, limiting authorization so that not just anybody could go in and access it, and then involving personnel from multiple levels of the organization. And that's a breakdown of a hypothetical network, and you can see the different vulnerabilities that they have there. Does anybody know what the weakest link in your organization is?
People.
Okay. Yeah, you'll hear that a lot. It's true though. I mean, look at Snowden. It's true. Multics. Early focus on computer security research centered on a system called Multiplexed Information and Computing Services. Operating system was created with security integrated into the core function. It's the first one that was created with security. Multics key players created Unix. And then by the late 70s, the microprocessor expanded the computing capabilities. So 1990s is when computers really started coming out into schools. I guess 80s they started coming out into schools, but they started really growing. Became the first global network. DEF CON conference was established for those interested in information security. 2000 to present, Internet brings millions of secure computer networks into continuous communication with each other. The growing threat of cyber attacks increased, nation states emerging into information warfare. What is security? It's a state of being secure and free from danger or harm, the actions taken to make someone or something secure. And so a successful organization has multiple layers of security. I feel really weird sitting here reading. I mean, I need to be up here. Do they really have to sit there and hold a button?
You can walk over and push it. It's easy.
Good exercise.
Do what?
Good exercise,
I
too.
had plenty of exercise today. We had a lot of issues today. It was Monday. Mondays are always bad at work. So a successful organization has multiple layers of security. You got to protect your operations, your physical infrastructure, because if anybody can just walk in and access it, then it's not secure. Your people, they have to be trained, because if you don't train them, then they're going to easily give up information. How many of you get emails saying, hey, your password is expiring, log in here to reset your password for your bank?
Yep.
Have you ever clicked on it to see what the link actually takes you to? It's not your bank. Functions, communications, or information. I get those quite often. It's fun because if Ken hasn't gotten one in a while, I can just shoot it over to him and he'll use it for his class. But my favorite one is when you start getting the phone calls, you have a virus on your computer. It's like, yeah, you're calling me, you know this? That's awesome. Ken, I don't know if any of y'all have been here long enough to do it. He was actually on one of the virtual machines in what used to be the forensics lab over here. I think it's downstairs now or something. Anyway, so he had he gave him his information, pretended like, oh my gosh, there's a virus on my computer, and he let them remote in to the virtual machine, and they install a program that makes it to where you can't see what they're doing. And they're like, "Can you see me?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Okay." And so he did it again, and that's when Ken caught on that that's what the guy had done. And he's like, so then the guy said, "Can you see me?" And he's like, "No, I don't see anything." And he watched the guy while he sat there and went through all of the files on the computer. Of course, since it's a virtual machine, there wasn't a lot on it. But he literally went through all of the stuff on the computer, and then came back and said, "Okay, well, it's going to cost this much to unlock your computer. I need you to enter your credit card information." And so when Ken would enter his credit card information, and then he would scroll down to read, it was fake information. It wasn't really his credit card. He would scroll down so he could read this terms of an agreement,
Right.
and the guy kept scrolling back up so that he could copy the information down. So it's like crazy because they'll lock your machine up to where you have to pay them in order to unlock it.
It's called ransomware.
Exactly. So
They encrypt part of your hard drive and won't give you the key to.
exactly, it's crazy. It's crazy. I was glad that he only did it on a virtual machine. Of course, I don't think he's not stupid enough to do that, but. So security is the protection of information and its critical elements used to store and transmit that information. It includes information security management, data security, network security. CIA triangle, who knows what it stands for? Does it say it?
Yep.
Confidentiality. Oh, yeah, it does say
It
it.
does say it. Integrity and availability, and you will go over that every single class that you're in that is for computer security. So anybody want to tell me what confidentiality is?
Secrecy.
Making sure that the data remains confidential, that nobody who...
Doesn't
Keeping the
have
wrong people
right
out.
access to it.
Exactly. Integrity
That's making sure that it's not tampered.
and availability.
That's making sure you can get to it.
Exactly. And there's your CIA triangle, and they've added this nice little pyramid type pillar thing. Basically tells you that confidentiality, integrity, and availability is like your base for everything else. And it is, essentially. Apparently they're trying to add a fourth one because in one of our classes at Webster it was like CIAA or something like that. Either there was CCIA. I don't remember. I don't remember what the fourth one was because I only had the one class that went over it that way. Every other class I've had is just CIA. Key information security concepts. Access, asset, tongue twister, attack, control and safeguarding, exploiting, exposing, loss, protection, risk, subjects and objects, threats, and threat agent and vulnerability. Now, when you're in pen testing, you'll get to exploit machines. You also get to do stalking, which is fun. I don't know if y'all have heard, you'll hear a lot of students going around, "Hey, have you heard this information?" Especially Vince. His name Vince, president of the Cyber Club. Vic, thank you. I knew I was getting it wrong. He was freaking out today because he can't find one piece of information. He's almost done. But yeah, that class is a lot of fun. And then you'll also get to break passwords in computer security, not computer security, forensics. You also get to recover data that's been deleted in forensics, which is very time consuming. But it's interesting. It's very interesting.
Considerations are cool until you realize you've got like 8 or 10 gigs worth of stuff that's been deleted.
No, he does it and it's only like megs. So you don't have a lot on the assignment, but he makes you go through and manually do it, and then the next week in class you get to use the automated system to do it. And you're like, okay, so it took me 40 hours to do this one assignment and it took like 2 seconds to do it with the automated system. So it's a little frustrating, but at the same time, you learn the logistics of it basically. And then John the Ripper, I loved that one, but most people hate it because you have to come up with the way to enter the rules in order to break the passwords. And it's a puzzle. You'll like it. I think you will. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, play with that other puzzle first. And this just gives you kind of like different vulnerabilities, tells you what they are on like the website, buffer overflow on the database, and then the script hacker. A computer can be the subject of an attack or it can be the object of attack. In what way could it be the subject of an attack?
Stealing files.
Okay.
It can be the tool for the attack.
Can be the object of an attack. How would it be the object of an attack?
It's the target. It's what's
It's gonna destroy a computer.
being attacked.
Searching files for.
So, like a denial of or distributed denial of service, whenever it takes over your computer to attack another computer, which way would you categorize it?
It's a tool.
It's the tool.
It's got one could make
An argument for both sides because
Right.
your computer was
'cause-
attacked, and then it's using somebody else's.
It was your
Exactly.
target initially, but your intent was to use it as a tool to attack.
Exactly. So, critical characteristics. The value of information comes from characteristics it possesses: availability, accuracy, authenticity, confidentiality, integrity, utility, and possession. And I put them all correctly the first try. I thought I was going to say authenticity. I do not like the McCumber cube. Just because it's kind of complicated for me to explain it. But this is, the McCumber cube basically tells how all of these play in together. Like the confidentiality of your technology when it's being transmitted, and so on and so forth. The book goes into it a little bit more in detail, but I read over it before class, and I still lack the appropriate way to explain it to my satisfaction, if that makes sense. Components of an information system. You have software, hardware, data, people, processes, procedures. Processes will kind of fit in there too. And networks. And we will be discussing all of those briefly in this class. Balancing information security and access. Impossible to obtain perfect information security. It's a process, not a goal. So it is a lifelong goal. You will constantly be updating your system to protect it. People will constantly be trying to break in and will be constantly trying to thwart whatever security measures you have put in place. So you can never let your guard down. Security should be considered a balance between protection and availability. To achieve balance, the level of security must allow reasonable access, yet protect against threats. Because if you make it so secure that nobody can access it, then you've kind of defeated the whole purpose of putting security in place in the first place. And we have seen that, especially when we rolled out AvNet.
What's that?
Huh?
What's happening?
That is our new network at Tinker.
Oh.
Because they made it basically, okay, before we had our domain here at Tinker, and if you had to go to another base, you basically had to borrow one of their computers. You couldn't just pop on their network. Now, they've got everybody on AvNet. So you're still technically on the Tinker domain, but if you go to, like, Wright-Patterson, you can still get on the network. They can't do any work on your computer if it breaks down. You'd have to bring it back here for us to do it. Either that or they'd have to re-image the whole machine.
So do they, I mean, is it for non-confidential, it's not in conjunction with SIPRNet or?
No, this is Nipper. So yeah, they've just made it all one big domain to make it easier. It's just a lot more secure.
Took all the installation. Like she said, each installation had their own domain at one time.
Gotcha.
It's to make it easier for all the different bases to communicate,
Right.
share information.
Everybody was
It's just
brought under
security
the
is
same
a
umbrella.
lot harder now, and so something that used to take us like 15 minutes to do can take us 2 days.
Yeah.
But we know why they did it. It's just kind of frustrating for those of us who were there before they rolled it all out. So, but I mean, they're trying to make it secure, which is a hard thing to do. Approaches to information security implementation, bottom-up approach. So, if you are trying to implement changes at work and you start with the peon down at the bottom, how far do you think you're going to go? It might work. You might be able to get everybody on board and get the project done, but chances are it's not going to work as well because you really need to have management support. So the bottom-up approach is basically starting at the bottom with all of the little people and then working your way up to the management.
Would that work best if you're, say, starting up a new company?
But if you're starting up a new company, you're technically the boss, so technically it wouldn't really be a bottom-up. I don't know. I mean, I guess you could look at it both ways. But I would think that if you're starting it up, you're going to be kind of like the CIO, and you're kind of in charge.
Still a top-down approach.
Yeah.
You just have no middlemen.
Exactly. Top-down approach is basically you're getting upper management. Upper management is the one that's implementing it, and they're following it through. They're assigning all the tasks. They're making sure that this gets done. And as they say, it's the most successful successful development strategy we are doing. And so this kind of gives you the picture. You got the CEO up here. They're doing the top-down approach, making everybody fall in line, and then bottom up, you're starting with the bottom people. Peons. It'd be kind of like me trying to start a project at Tinker. It might happen if I had a really good outline of what I thought they should implement, but chances are it's not going to make it that far up. Systems development life cycle. While this is very, very important when you're actually doing a project, it's very, very, very boring to teach. It really is. The methodology for design and implementation of a system. And the reason they do this is because if you do not have a set process in place, they're likely to skip steps, shortcuts. It doesn't work so well. So the methodology is it's a formal approach of solving a problem based on a structured sequence of procedures. Make sure that you get everything in line. Gives you a better chance of making the project work. Ensures a rigorous process with a clearly defined goal, increases probability of success, and traditional software development lifecycle consists of 6 general phases. And I am assuming that you have had plenty of experience with this lately.
Actually, I have. And my wife, who was, at the time she was working at Lowe's, she was talking to me about their information system for, it's not modern. They work off a Unix-based information system. I mean, I'm talking not Unix platform, not like Apple is based on Unix, not like that. I'm talking the black and white screen. You got to type out the commands. And what she was saying is that they really need an information systems overhaul because, like the screen said, if you take the approach and look at all the problems that Lowe's was having based on inventory and point of sale with customers and stuff like that, if you modernize it and you take all the little problems that have to go over here and the little problems go over here, you can actually develop a system that will be able to address all those problems and help be more productive. But when you have a broken
How long ago was that she worked there?
Almost a year ago.
Oh, wow. Let's say they rolled out that My Lowe's thing where you're supposed to be able to search for something on their app and it just tell you exactly where in the store it is. Never worked right. Never worked. Now, it was nice for whenever you purchased something and you wanted to go back and purchase the same thing, it told you the exact item so you could compare.
Oh, really?
Shelves. Yeah, because we made a catwalk all around our house for these cats I was telling you about because our dogs, we've got dogs, and my dog really likes cats. I mean, like, really likes cats. And so he was terrorizing them. So we built these catwalks so that they could get around the house without the dogs. And then we put pet gates up in front of the doors so that they can't go in the bedrooms. The dogs, not the cats. Anyway, and so what are you going to do when you're busting a hole in your wall? Of course you're going to make it nice and pretty and put the little trim on it and everything. At least we did. And so we had to go get more trim and we wanted to make sure all the trim matched. So it was really handy.
What Lowe's, by chance, was it? It wasn't this one that's right over here, was it?
I think it was a combination of this one, the one in Moore, and the one in Norman. Because my kid's father lives in Norman, and so we go here, there, and there. If they don't have one thing, then yeah, generally we go to the one here, but when we were doing that, we had to go to multiple because they didn't all have what we wanted. So.
Well, when Home Depot had a $15 million write-off on their cybersecurity policy after their intrusion, I guarantee you the next day Lowe's started their
Possible.
It wasn't.
But I don't even know if they did or not. I just know that they have the My Lowe's app, and they've had it for a while because we did that catwalk a couple years ago. I just know that it's not really good for helping find anything in the store. So, but I know that Target, after they had their break-in, they, the credit card companies were really specific. You have to have the one that reads the chip, because if you don't have the one that reads the chip and you get broken into by a certain date, of course, then they won't pay it. Meaning that Target would be out the money, not the credit card company. And so Target rolled it out quicker than just about, I think, anybody.
I think Target's the only store I've been to that uses it.
I've been to a few, even Base doesn't have theirs set up, but yeah, it's like...
And we're years behind on that. It's been in Europe for 5-6 years as a standard.
All I know is I got replacement parts for all mine.
Yeah.
Several people haven't rolled it out yet. The deadline is in September.
See, I thought it was in June.
It's been rolled back for like 4 years. Every
Gotcha.
year they've rolled it back.
Yeah. All I know is that the commissary and the BX have the machines now, but they don't have it implemented. And a lot of gas stations don't. It's really frustrating because I'll get used to just swiping it since nobody has it, and then of course, you know, it's like every time I swipe it and I don't check, you have to put the card in. If I ask, then it's always swipe. Go figure. But these are the steps: investigation, analysis, logical design, physical design, implementation, and maintenance and change. And we're going to go into those just a little bit. So, investigation, exactly what it sounds like. We are trying to identify the problem that we want to solve and come up with our objectives, constraints, scope. Okay, they're all specified. I said it wrong. You should have reread through these. Preliminary cost-benefit analysis is developed, and at the end of the phases, a process is undertaken to assess economic, technical, and behavioral feasibilities to ensure implementation is worth the time and effort. Because if you get all the way through and it costs way more than what you're saving. Analysis consists of the organization, the current systems, capability to support the proposed systems. Because if you don't have what you need, I mean, if you don't have the systems, then you're going to have to work that into your process. You're going to have to replace them all. Capability to support. If you build it and then you don't have the people to support it, then you're going to have to look into hiring them or outsourcing it. Analysts determine what the new system is expected to do and how it will interact with existing systems. Analysis ends with documentation of findings and update of feasibility. Logical design. The first and driving factor is the business need. Applications are selected to provide needed services. Data support and structures capable of providing the needed inputs are identified. Specified technologies are delineated to implement the physical solution. Analysis generate estimates of costs and benefits to allow comparison of available options. And feasibility analysis is performed at the end. So, do you have any examples for the project that you're undertaking at work?
Which one, the 8570 project?
Yeah.
As far as,
The logical design or any of the processes involved? So, how would you apply this to your project? What is the logical design? Just coming up with the different different certifications that are required?
okay, so the first thing we, my boss is the chief stakeholder,
Mm-hmm.
and he's the visionary. And so when he took over command of the squadron, the first thing he assessed were the major big rocks within the organization that he needed to make sure that he addressed within the 2 years of his time. The first one being training and professional development. Okay, so that was a problem. That big problem broke down into sub-problems. You know, our troops working on systems that aren't modern. They use programming techniques that are outdated. They use equipment that's outdated. Our civilians don't have a formalized training plan, and also we face the issue of 8570 compliance, which DoD says, hey, by this date you guys need to be in compliance, or everybody with elevated rights and privileges are going to lose them. People are going to start losing their jobs and stuff. So, so identifying the problem was the first thing, and then we built an approach to addressing those problems, and one of which is developing a training network that is standalone. It's going to be certified, but it's standalone. It's going to use virtual boxes, and the design of the system is to be more modern and have software that our programmers will be able to keep pace with our industry counterparts, while at the same time they're training. So if they break something, they're on a virtual box. You can just reboot and just start over. That's one of the things. And then another one is to address the 8570 concern. We did a cost-benefit analysis between trying to train, you know, in excess of 200 people through a commercial organization. Compared that to being able to take our resident experts, the guys who have been in the industry for, you know, 10, 15 years that could teach, the concepts of
They
information
could probably
security.
teach it better than outsourcing it too.
Right, and looking at how much it would cost for us to put together a training plan and, you know, the amount of man hours that it would take and stuff, and compare those two and seeing that we would come out ahead if we did it ourselves.
So I have a question.
Sure.
If you know, if you can't discuss it, then that's fine too. So what did y'all decide? On that, with the training? Did y'all decide to outsource it, or are you doing it
Oh no,
in-house?
we're gonna roll with it. We're gonna handle it. Yeah, that's.
Okay.
I just recently briefed it and they gave me thumbs up, so we're gonna press forward. We're doing it. We're actually working with the 72nd to do it too. So.
It makes sense. I mean, if you do it in-house, then you know that your people know what's going on, and the training
Right.
would be better.
We get a lot more flexibility that way. And this, I mean, this applies. All of this applies to, like for example, the fourth bullet. Analysts generate estimates of costs and benefits to allow comparison of available options. That's exactly what that was like one of the critical points for your stakeholders to hear is how, okay, all this sounds good, how much is this going to cost us?
Mm-hmm.
I got a limited budget. I need to know how this is going to, you know, am I going to get the most bang for my buck? And when we showed them the numbers, you know, some commercial organizations, how much it would cost to pay out of pocket if we had to get the certifications versus training in-house, getting our codes within our billets changed, which will then qualify us within the Department of Defense for them to pay for our certification. So significant difference between the cost. And then, like you were saying, we sold the point of making sure we had our people who were, you know, like I said, 15 years experience in information assurance. These guys have, you know, done everything from the technical to overseeing networks, so they know all of this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and they're able to teach it and have taught it actually. Before the Third Herd closed down, they were teaching the classes to them to help their technicians become 8570 compliant. So we got a pretty solid plan moving forward. Now it's just a matter of executing.
Cool. Yeah, I get to do something similar to that, but to a much smaller scale. Our band boosters, the computers are all dying at the school, and since I work in IT, she was like, "Hey, Virginia, can you take a look at this computer and see what's wrong with it?" "Yeah, it's toast." "Okay. Virginia, we had another computer crash. Is there any way we can get some computers ordered?" So now I'm in the process of screwing around with Dell trying to get them, and you can't just buy them because they want the tax exempt.
Right.
And so you have to create an account, and
Yeah.
I get transferred to like a gazillion people,
Mm-hmm.
and so we're having some trouble with that. But yeah, we had to go through the process of selecting the computers, making sure that it would work with all the applications that they need, which is only one, but they record all of their playing tests on those computers. So
Apple has an easier ordering process.
yeah, but the problem is I only have a $2,600 budget for 4 computers, and there's no way I could get a decent Apple. Well, I could
You can get
probably, but it'd be
Macs.
used, and she wants something that has a warranty. So,
Gotcha.
I was
so
gonna say,
we looked at Lenovo's, we looked at HP's, and we looked at Dell. I will not get Asus because that's what she has, and they suck. So I'm not saying all of them suck, but the ones that she can afford, they do.
They're good value, they just don't last.
Yeah, they don't last, and she needs something that's gonna last. So I was thinking Dell,
Dell's
because Dell's, for the most part, we don't have a lot of problems with them on base. Lenovo's, they're okay. It really depends on which brand. I mean, which version of each brand that you look at, because each of them have their own little quirks.
I've worked with HP and Dell when I ran IT for AFIA down in New Mexico, and Dell's like on-site, their warranty.
But we
their
can't
on-site
afford the
stuff.
warranty. Because I tried to
Really?
talk her into, at least a little bit. It wouldn't be the full one. But shoot, the warranty is like as much as the computer. And they can't
I mean, you
afford that.
you get what you pay for.
I know.
But yeah, you're right.
I know. If it wasn't the band boosters paying for it, it'd probably be different. But we have a limited budget, and she needs 4 new computers. So, but yeah, we've been through this. And it was very hard because I had to communicate with her, and then she had to check with the rest of the band boosters because she couldn't just make the decision on her own, even though she wanted to. And then, it's all on me. Fun.
I would say, just looking at this process of program design and implementation, you know, his situation really highlights,
Everything.
well, that, but core differences in terms of requirements and needs for government, where you have, you know, statutory, you know, requirements versus education, where you might be looking at limited budget, or large enterprise, where I used to consult, where you also have reputational risk, because sometimes it might be easier for Home Depot not to upgrade their system and save $100 million and take out, you know, a $5 million policy. So, but it's the probability of what are the odds that I'm going to have a breach versus what is it going to cost me to upgrade my system, and what is the insurance policy going to cost me. So sometimes if you have low reputation impact factors, then it doesn't really matter, because it's so-and-so got broken into, that happens every day, nobody cares. If you're Ashley Madison, you probably should have put some more money into security.
Exactly. Yeah, because I remember whenever we were discussing the whole warranty and all that at the school, she was like, oh yeah, we definitely have to have warranty. I was like, okay, how often has your computer broken down right now? Because literally we would have had to have taken donations in order to pay for the warranty information that we would have had to have had on these computers.
Yeah, and you guys don't
And
have
she's like-
reputational risk.
She's like, this is the first time. I was like, and how long have you had these? Oh, about 3 years. I was like, okay, so if this is the first time it's broken down in 3 years, it really is time for it to be replaced, because they're becoming obsolete.
Right.
I was like, so if it's only breaking down once every 3 years, 3 years, just buy some new ones. It costs about the same amount as your warranty would have cost, except that you're getting updated systems. So
That's actually pretty good. Life cycle of technology is 18 months. So
exactly. So
3 years is
that's not bad. I mean,
yeah.
they're only using it really for one
That's
application. They
actually
use it for a
really
little bit
good.
other, but it's just usually just one application so they can record. Because she uses it for them to play their tests, and it records it.
Oh, I remember that stuff. I really hated that stuff.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is that they've got the same application on the my daughter does on her iPad at home, so she can play most of the music from the contest music, and it actually tells her what notes she's got wrong.
Oh.
So it's kind of nice. I like it. Cool. So, but yeah, that was crazy. Physical design. Specific technologies are selected to support the alternatives identified and evaluated in the logical design. Selected components are evaluated, make or buy decision. So it's like, I had to go through and I had to determine, what she needed, and then what specifications were most important, which we needed a processor that would run a certain length, but we didn't really care what size hard drive it had, because we really didn't need the space. And we needed about 4 gigs of RAM. So we had to look at the physical design. Implementation, needed software is created or purchased, I would think. Components are ordered, received, tested. Users are trained, and supporting documentation created. Feasibility analysis is prepared. Maintenance and change. It's the longest and most expensive phase because maintenance never ends. Consists of the tasks necessary to support and modify the system for the remainder of its useful life. The life cycle continues until the team determines the process should begin again from the investigation phase. This will never stop updating your system. Not unless it stops growing, but I don't think that that's ever going to happen. The security systems development life cycle is pretty much the same as the other one that we went through, except for it is mostly, is completely just concerned with the security aspect. So it's got a few additional things that they've thrown in there. Identifies processes, outcomes, goals, constraints of the project. Begins with an enterprise information security policy. Outlines implementation of a security program within the organization, and organizational feasibility analysis is performed. Analysis documents are studied. Preliminary analysis, pretty much the same. They go over the existing policies and programs to determine if they need something that's going to change. Includes analysis of relevant legal issues that could affect the design. And risk management begins. Then the logical design includes the continuity planning, the incident response, and the disaster recovery. Anybody want to tell me why we need those?
Because things don't always continue to work as you wish or hope they would.
Yeah.
My first thought is like coffee.
Life happens.
Coffee, yes. Except for it doesn't really tear it as much anymore. But my first thought was tornadoes. Because Oklahoma.
Natural disasters, yeah.
And when we worked at Dell, they set this up quite nicely. I was a contractor for Dell, contracted for Boeing. So I was kind of like a twice over contractor. Not a good situation. But we had two different offices. One in Nashville, one in Oklahoma. So that if they got hit by a tornado, we could cover. If we got hit, they could cover. They were down more often than we were, but it was all power. So, I mean, it was a good plan, because if they hadn't, then we wouldn't have had the technology, we wouldn't have been able to support Boeing, but it was kind of... Fortunately, it never happened while I was there that both got hit on the same day. And usually they got us back up and running fairly quickly. There was something, my sister works for State Farm in Tennessee. And the way that they had it, they covered Tennessee and Kentucky. That was it. So if storm hit and they closed the offices, what are they going to do if you get an accident? Well, the offices are closed. So they have gone through and redone the entire organization, and she is just like dying there because they had to work like 80 hours for months, okay, maybe a year, because they've had to retrain, because now she has to cover New York and Texas, California. She's covering a lot of different states now, because they've made it to where each office in each state covers multiple states, so that they have the redundancy in case, like, the snowstorm hit, they can help cover the coverage claims. And she has a lot of interesting stories too. Physical design evaluates information security technology needed to support blueprint as outlined in the logical design. The final physical design is chosen. At the end of the phase, feasibility studies determine readiness of organization or project. Champion and sponsors presented with design for approval. And then it is implemented. It's tested. And tested again. And then your maintenance and change, which will forever be there. Software assurance, security in the software development life cycle. Many organizations recognize the need to include planning for security objectives in the software development lifecycle used to create systems. And I say the I say the actual name. I try to always say it, because whenever you're taking your certification test, they don't tell you what it is, and so you have to know what those acronyms stand for. And I'm really bad with acronyms, so I usually try to say the whole thing so that you get used to seeing it and hearing it. I don't know if anybody's going to take their security course. I highly recommend that if you're going to, take it as soon as you take the courses. So if you're taking the A+ class or the hardware class this semester, try to take your A+ afterwards. If you're taking Intro to Networks, take your Network Plus afterwards. It's much easier to take it then than to wait 6 years and go back and try to take it. Yes?
Are there resources or study guides through the school for those exams?
Yes. They are a little outdated, but I did the Security Plus last year, and it was probably 2 versions off, and I still passed it. So, I don't know if it's, I think it's 2 versions, maybe it's the Network Plus, it's 2 versions off, but they're a little off, and I'll try to get them to update it. But if you're interested in taking it, you want to take the course, let me know, and I'll see if I can get you added. I don't think I have permissions to add to the virtual machine, but it's just, it's in the vSphere. So, but yeah, we have, it's just like a practice test. You can go over it and over and over it. It's really cool because if you put it in the practice mode, you can click on it and it'll tell you the answer, and it explains it exactly why that's the correct answer. So a lot of times I won't even really read the question. I'll just click on it and I'll read the explanations, and then that way I can do that a few times and then go back and take the test. So, but highly recommend that, because if you're going to get a job in the IT field, they're going to require it. If you're going to get a job at Tinker, even if you're a contractor, you have to have a Security Plus. They will not hire you without a Security Plus. When I got hired on there, you just had to have a certification. So I had A plus. And then they said, okay, you have to have the ITIL, which is basically the customer service part of the certification aspect. And it goes through the different aspects of help desk support. And then now they say you have to have a security plus. So I'm just going to go ahead and try to knock out all the rest of my certifications so that next time they say, hey, you have to have this to stay employed, I'm good. I'm golden. Because I work 4 jobs and it's not easy to take the time out to study. It's not. So, but I highly recommend it. If you need help with it, let me know. You might actually be able to find some study materials outside of the other.
I'm shooting to have A plus, Network plus, and Security plus by the end of the year.
I was gonna say, I have some A plus books. I'll have to see if I can find them. I might have given them away, but I'll look and see if I still have them. Security plus was loaned to me, so I have to give that back.
If not, I had the A plus and Network, the A plus class and the networking class stuff, and I still have the codes intact. The Cengage codes, I just don't know if they're worth a damn.
I don't know. I would try it, but the A plus, there's one portion of it that's fairly simple. Okay, I thought it was simple. Not everybody thinks it's simple. It's the hands-on portion that I had trouble with because back when I tried to take it the first time, because I did fail it the first time, I had no experience. And the only experience I had was here. And so after I actually started working in IT and I started actually using everything, it was a breeze. I was sitting here going, why in the world did I have a problem with this the first time? But it's because I didn't have the hands-on knowledge. So if you've got a Windows machine and you can practice, because I don't, do it. Because I have a Mac at home, so I can't practice Windows at home. So, but I can at work, within the confines that they give us. Like I tried to take a break today from work and upload my stuff for my cyber law class and realized that I can't access any of it from there.
You know you can put Windows on an app on a Mac.
Yes, and I currently have a machine that I can do that on, but I had the program on my old computer, but anytime I tried to run it, it shut down. So my husband went out and bought me a better computer that would run faster, but by then the class was over, and I was sitting there going, why do I want to take the time to install it? Because and then I have to go through him to get the code for the stupid software that I installed, and so it's installed, but it doesn't have the license key, so I can't use it. So, I mean, I could, but so far I haven't really seen a need to, because I graduated a couple years ago, and I just haven't really needed a Windows machine. Though I'm going to be hurting soon, because I think we're about to go to Windows 10 at work. They keep saying, they said we were going to 8 too, and we skipped 8. So, I don't know. We'll
So
see.
you have to have an A plus certification at all, just in general, just to get any IT job on Tinker?
No, now you have to have a security plus to get a job on Tinker.
Because
I think that they could care less about the A plus now.
Right.
So they don't.
It's still good to have.
the A plus?
It's-
8570 initially, A plus and Net plus satisfied IAT level 1, but now in the revision of 8570, they said, okay, people are spending equal amount of effort to get Security plus as they already get A plus and Net plus. Security plus covers more,
Everything. It's more broad.
It covers everything. People aren't scoping in. Most machines you aren't allowed to crack open and go into anyway. You know, we either, because they pay for warranty, so they ship them off. But the compromising in systems was the major concern, and A plus and Net plus don't really cover that, but Security plus does. So now, like the professor was saying, we're Security plus is like the baseline.
So you have your Security plus?
I did. I allowed it to expire because I'm
Ooh.
upper level management now. So.
Oh, yeah. As I say, you don't need a security plus unless you're in IT. If you are getting an admin credential, you have to have a security plus because we've actually lost some people recently because they let theirs expire.
Right.
And government regulations, they got fired.
They won't let me. That's why they won't let me touch this.
Yeah, and they specifically told us all. They're like, do not let it expire. If you need help getting, some credits or something to maintain it, let us know. And some people just didn't pay attention.
Is that like a 1 or 2 year certification?
3 years.
It's, 3 years. But you can do the credits.
The
I
continuing
mean,
education.
yeah, you have to
credits that
pay
she
the
calls.
stupid fee, but you can do the continuing education credits by taking online classes. This right here I think would qualify.
This would qualify.
Um,
Professor Dewey's Cyber Club, that qualifies. FCA Luncheon,
Yeah, see, that's why we started
qualifies.
doing I haven't been able to do that in a while, but yeah.
CBTs qualify.
And then like any of the conferences and stuff, they
Right.
offer
Tech
the.
shows, conferences,
Yeah.
Any
everything.
higher level exam, higher level certification.
And once you get it, I mean, there's always, there's groups that you can, like I joined the AFC because we were going to it anyway, just because my husband's an officer or something in it, I don't know, they tricked him into it. And so he was having to go, so if he was going, he drug me with him. But I get credits for going, so I don't mind.
So how long does your certification last?
It lasts for 3 years, but if you do the continuing education credits,
It can
it
go.
can last indefinitely.
Right.
Okay.
Because part of the CEU, part of the continuing education credits is that you maintain, you stay plugged in so that your
You're
skill
constantly
set
learning your security.
doesn't get stagnant.
Yeah.
And that's why she's saying if you keep up with your continuing education credit, they're looking and they're saying, oh, okay, these guys are learning techniques, they don't have to recertify. Versus old guys like me, I'm gonna end up having to take the test.
And see, they sent us links to where we can do online courses, and as long as you do these online courses, then you get
Good.
credits. And they told us we can technically get all of our credits doing those. Plus, you can get work credits. So if you're doing IT work and you can justify saying that you're working security, then you can actually get credits, and that applies too.
Well,
No.
technically, there are some people who will never have to because they took it so long ago, they didn't require
No.
it.
No,
You
If
still
you're
have to
working
do
for the
CEU,
government,
but you don't have
it
to
will not work.
recertify.
Really?
because the government requires that you do the continuing education credits.
Right.
So
require
even if CompTIA,
Even
you
if
are
you,
still
even if you,
grandfathered
yes,
in.
even if you're grandfathered in, you have to sign up for it and you have to do it for the government.
Huh.
But you both are right in that the government does require that you do the continuing education credits, but I think it was after, if you took the test after 2013,
Yeah.
if you took it before, you're grandfathered in, and it's like, cause this one guy showed us his card and it was like super old.
You should see Ken's. His is super old too.
His is on parchment. On stick.
Exactly.
But like you were saying, you don't have to recertify. But unlike with CISSP, I know it was at one point in time you actually did. I think it was at like the 5-year mark. You had to actually retake the test.
Yeah, he doesn't have to retake his test.
Right.
He just goes to a yearly training
Oh.
in Las Vegas, which I'm extremely jealous about because I cannot go and I have not been able to go for the last couple of years. So, yeah, he's going to Las Vegas yet again without me. But as long as he brings me back M&M stuff, we're golden.
Do you know what's going on with the NSA cert?
The CNSS certifications, he said that they are going away. He was discussing that right, I guess, before you got here today.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they threatened to make it go away before, but I guess they're really gonna make it go away now.
Yeah, he was in the last cyber meeting. You go to the CIT.
Oh, and you can get access to that too. You can shoot me an email and I can send you the link. But if you go onto the, you can actually go into the cyber club. Okay, we're gonna end this on slide 43 because we're about done anyway. But if you go my home, I think you can go up here to tools and do self-registration.
I did that, and it,
Shoot Vdewey an email and he can add you to the group.
Yeah, and I might.
Is it IT club?
They changed it to.
because I self-enrolled in that IT club.
Which
No, hold on,
expired.
hold on,
That's
hold on,
not
hold
it.
on. I
Years
think
ago.
IT Club was the one that they started and ended. Cybersecurity Club was the old one.
Mhm.
I was president of the Cybersecurity Club when I was here.
Okay.
So when we re-implemented it, we did Cybersecurity Club instead of the IT Club.
Yeah, cybersecurity.
So
Okay.
yeah, it's Cybersecurity Club. And sorry, I set an alarm so that I wouldn't forget about the time because I almost did last time, and I don't want y'all to like be late to another class or whatever. So there's an alarm that will alert us whenever class is almost over every night. Anyway, so I don't.
Self-enroll now.
Yeah, I think you can. It just didn't show up for me because I wasn't there. But let me look and see if I have permissions.
I don't know, I had to have Ken do it last semester. That's
All
also
right.
the easier way, because then he can just application email it and do it.
Yeah, I don't see you. Student, I don't know if I can just add you. See, I used to know how to do it all, but I don't know if I even have permissions because I don't know how he put me in.
Okay.
And that's my dad. He doesn't need to be calling me.
Add participants.
Where did you see add participants? I'm blind. Where is add participant?
In blue underneath class list.
Oh. Add existing users? Guess that would be you. So let's look.
John.
Is that your ID? Hold on. 403? That is.
Nobody will look. Everybody close your eyes.
Denied access. Student. Enroll. There are users without a role. I don't want them. Oh, here. Student. Well, I don't want to say denied access. How about I just go here?
You can
Yeah,
click
that's-
enroll selected.
Oh,
He's the only one
I did
selected.
select it.
There we go.
Gotcha.
Gracias.
You're welcome. Now you're in. Anybody else while I'm here? All right. So add participants.
Now that we're past the learning curve.
Exactly. Well, it's been so many years since I've done this, and they've changed the website.
Man.
You are not here.
I feel like I'm here.
Did I spell it right?
I feel like
Yes, you did. If you
Alright.
get rid of the comma, Chris, he'll probably pull you up.
Oh, let's try that.
Those crazy commas.
I know. Well, there it is. That's crazy. All right. Student and enroll.
Thank you.
And Kathleen said she wanted in. Anybody
I'm
else?
already in.
Oh, you're already in?
Yeah.
Oh, anybody else want to be added? So,
This
the Cybersecurity Club, Ken Dewey has a class every Thursday night at like 5:40, and he goes over, he actually will let you choose different topics. He'll take like votes, and like I know he's gone over how to convert hex, he's gone over what, subnetting, I don't know. He goes over lots of different subjects. It's really, really interesting.
Yeah, I'd like to do something like that, but I work nights. So
Well, that's why he posts the recording on here, so that you can listen to it at any time.
do it on the night. So then I'll do it.
Under Kenneth Dewey.
Yeah, he has a YouTube page too, where he has lots of different videos, but he's got so many. Should have put your first name. Anybody see a K? It's not seriously. This is like crazy. All right, so we're gonna do comma key on. We'll try it this time. I don't know if it's gonna work. Yeah, it doesn't work. Damn it.
Let me try to put his first name first.
Try just
Or
go-
is just a
just
student
key
name?
on.
Or you- usernames?
Seriously?
Right there.
I didn't know there was more keywords here.
Obviously, that's weird. I wouldn't have thought that there'd be. There's less than there are of the Lawrence though. And you are added. But yeah, he should have content, meetings from recordings. Yeah, so there's the one from January the 21st. That's last week. And last week he went over the degree plan and all your options, like going to OSU and I don't know, certifications and such. I didn't go, but I heard that it was amazing. So I would say listen to that. Anybody have any questions before we go? No? Okay, so, oh, thank you. I
Press F10. Press F10.
totally forgot